Welcome back to the Goku Report. This is a special top 5 list. This is something I've never done before. I thought I'd mention since it was one of my favorite things to do. I haven't done them all, which is go on roller coasters. Going with friends or family to selected theme parks, specifically, predominantly in a few states. But one of my favorite things has always been roller coasters. So this is 5 favorite roller coasters of all time. Expect a decent amount, predominantly from Ohio, because I've gone and quite enjoyed my visits at Cedar Point as well as Kings Island, but I also like quite a bit Six Flags Kentucky Kingdom, as well as another couple of parks here and there. But with that said, honorable mentions that, and at least one of these is no longer around, unfortunately. But honorable mentions. First, we have one that is probably arguably the smallest on the list, and is from a small little park in West Virginia called Camden Park, which you can also find Fallout 76. It's called the Big Dipper. It's actually very small, classic wooden coaster, but still it has special nostalgia memories for me. And it would really be my first taste of classic wooden coasters. Also, we have on the bigger side, we have Rip Tour from Cedar Point, which is really good and cool coaster rides. Recommend checking out. Or, sorry, Raptor. Also, we have another classic style coaster, and that is Diamondback, which is a coaster I highly recommend checking out if you're ever going to a specific park in Ohio. I highly recommend checking out Diamondback. Last of the honorable mentions, a coaster that no longer exists, unfortunately. I was lucky enough to experience it at least before it went away from, and that is from a specific park called Kings Island, located just outside of course, Cincinnati, Ohio. And the last honorable mention is the Son of Beast. It was the first and only wind coaster, to my knowledge, with a loop going upside down. It was the first and pretty much the only one of its kind. It was a very special and unique coaster, but the wait lines were ridiculous for Son of Beast. Coming in number 5 is arguably one of my all-time favorite wind coasters. This is arguably my personal favorite coaster from Six Flags Kentucky Kingdom, located, of course, in Louisville, Kentucky. And that being Twisted Sister, which is an awesome classic wind coaster. It's not huge like some of the others, but it's still a classic. If you appreciate good wind coasters like myself, I think you would appreciate Twisted Sister. Coming in at number 4, we go to Kings Island again for a specific metal coaster, and this one is quite a bit of fun. I've ridden this multiple times, probably 2 or 3 times each visit to the park because it's a lot of fun, and that being in 4th place, Banshee. Get a chance, you gotta check that coaster out. Coming in at number 3 is a coaster, arguably my second favorite coaster from Cedar Point, and that being the coaster called Gemini. If you've never been to Cedar Point, you should go. Do yourself a favor. It has some of the best coasters in the country, if not world, and it is a really good park to go to. Arguably, in my opinion, overall quality, I would say Cedar Point is probably my favorite, though I think just overall experience, I would probably go with Kings Island. The fact I've also been to Kings Island the most of these parks, but Cedar Point is better just for not being as ridiculously overcrowded. And plus, I like Cedar Point a bit more for the fact you can get a special card access, which allows you to skip the normal lines. which is a nice perk, and it's worth the extra admission price to get that perk. So you don't have to wait in long lines for hours like at Kings Island. That's one of my biggest pet peeves about Kings Island. But coming in at number 2, best metal coaster of all time that I have personally rid, and that being at Cedar Point, and that is Magnum XL 200. Now, to be fair, I have yet to actually ride Millennium Force, I'll be honest, but Magnum XL is just great, and I think it's aged very well for its time when it was, because it was one of the first super coasters of its kind. Arguably coming at number 1 is my favorite wind coaster of all time. In my opinion, it's made the most iconic roller coaster of all time, in my personal opinion. Coming at number 1 from Kings Island is the Beast. The Beast is a coaster I have ridden more than any other roller coaster ever, even though it meant putting up with ridiculous long lines over the years since the 90s. I have probably rid the Beast, give or take, 13, 14 times. It's more than worth it. It's not really worth it for the long lines. That's why you want to get the park early in the morning, and that is always the first thing I would go straight to would be the Beast. Because it's an awesome experience for how long the coaster is. But with that said, this is my personal favorite roller coasters of all time. Leave a comment. What are some of your personal favorite roller coasters? Do you prefer wood coasters like me, or do you prefer metal coasters since they are a bit smoother? And I see where you're coming from also. But with that said, see y'all next time, and stay safe.